Getting ever so close to a trade deadline. Why are you giving thumbs up?
Sammy was hanging the jersey while we were on air for the first time today. He got busted. So
At least he
it's
got
giving the people at home a thumbs up.
At least he got the right jersey up.
He did. That's good.
And we are off and running on our Leaf Hour edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, Jake Schultz with you for the next 2 hours. At the top of the hour, we'll welcome in also Don Waddell, president of Hockey Ops, general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets. You know, last time we had him on, he gave us some really good tidbits.
He did.
Including Olivier was not going anywhere, and he said, we love him and we're going to sign him. And sure enough, he did.
Yeah, he was a man of his word on that. He basically said he's going to be ours, and he is.
Okay, it's game day for the Toronto Maple Leafs as they are back on the road again. Back on the road again.
A lot of that.
Isn't there a song somewhere there?
I just can't wait to get on the road again.
You think they're singing that? They just got home, and now they're back.
I saw Tavares have a quote about feeling like they were on the road even at home. You know, you come home, you do your laundry, you repack your bag, you go out again. It's not really a home visit.
Austin Matthews talked about how much he missed his dog.
Matthews has a dog?
Yeah, and he misses it.
Leafs in
know
Sin
Willie has
City
dogs.
tonight to take on Vegas Golden Knights. In the meantime, kind of looked around in the Atlantic Division, and they see some teams improving. Sammy, Tampa Bay.
Yes.
Lots of talk about Yanni Gourde.
Yanni Gourde, too?
Yanni.
Yeah.
Leafs may have been interested in him. Lawton, we hear. Shen's still out there from St. Louis, I would imagine, albeit it seems like it's really cool. And nope, doesn't happen for Leaf fans. They watch him go back home to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it's we're doing the Leafs, so we'll talk about it purely from the Leafs angle here. This stinks.
What other angle is it?
That's right. This stinks if you're a Leafs fan. Watching a guy who is a proven playoff performer and third line center in Yanni Gourde. I mean, works, kills penalties, one of those guys. And Bjorkstrand is a huge addition for them as, someone who can score a real goal total for them. And Tampa Bay lacked offensive depth, and they don't anymore. I will say the Bolts are sneaky. They're third in the NHL in goal differential. They're better than people think. They might be one of the best teams in the league with this deal. You got to avoid that 2-3 matchup in round one now, Kip.
This trade isn't going to be a downer for you for the next 2 hours of our show, is it?
No. I think if I would love a trade to happen during our show. I remember specifically the year that they traded for Luke Shen and the year they traded for traded Engvall and traded everybody on the team. That happened during our show, and it was really exciting. I love that about sports radio.
Yep.
So I would like for that to happen. But I will say that optically, having the two teams that you are directly competing against on the road to potentially going deeper in the playoffs than you have in a long time have significantly improved in the last 4 days. If you're Brad Treliving, the amount of pressure on you is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we talked about yesterday when I tried to do my fake trades and I couldn't come up with anything good. It's impossible to trade from, but your entire fan base is frothing at the mouth. We are frothing.
Did you tweet something reacting to the trade from a Leaf angle?
Yes.
What was it? I didn't read it.
I'm
sorry. I was in a bit of a rush.
From the Leafs angle, I don't even remember what I tweeted. How about that?
Oh, would you like me to pull up your own Twitter account?
Yeah, sure.
Justin Bourne?
Sure, what did I say?
Get going.
Hold on, just play the Jeopardy music.
I will say that when it comes to the trade deadline, it's not just trying to improve your own team. You have to out-improve the guys that you're trying to get better than. So that bar is now kind of unattainable for the Leafs. If they get better, they can get better.
I think there's a lot of time still here
to get better than Gourde and Bjorkstrand or Seth Jones.
Well, different.
Yeah.
Not better.
What did I tweet?
You tweeted, couple thoughts post Gourde.
Yes.
Cool, he's going back to Tampa Bay for him.
Yeah, it is.
Price is super high, but forwards are in short supply. D-market is a little bit more buyer-friendly for once, but Leafs waiting this long to shop as the shelves clear not great, Bob. Avoiding 2-3 round one matchup, crucial.
Yeah. So that's the
Good tweet.
avoiding the
I
2-3
like that one.
avoiding the 2-3 matchup is crucial, but I do feel frustrated.
So you think they should have jumped in a lot earlier?
Yes, it was obvious they've had shortcomings and deficiencies, and other teams are shopping now.
But if you're looking for something in particular, or you have a name in particular, you can't really just go out and do something for the sake of trying to be first either. You got to really get your guy. And I don't know, it's Gourde
was not their guy.
not their guy.
I feel like there's 10 teams this year, because the standings are so close, there's like 10 teams who think we have a chance this year. We have to go get someone. There's not many sellers, just the way that it shakes out this year. And so there's so few guys. Once you miss out on a couple guys, it feels like now it's like everyone for Brock Nelson or you're skunked. You know, like what's next in the...
But if they land
Brock Nelson.
yeah, okay. If they land, I don't know. I mean, shoot for the moon and say Rantanen. Like,
well, yeah. Listen,
but that one's a long shot.
Yeah.
That one is a long shot for probably no other reason is that I don't think they have a roster player to really give up.
Right.
Of liking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Brock Nelson would be a significant step up. And center, like it's at a premium right now. Center iceman. The Leafs have been focused on a center. There's not that many out there. Lawton's out there. I'm going to throw a name out there that I think I may have added even on my trade board with Boston's loss last night to Nashville. Coyle.
That's a good one. So
right?
I do wonder.
I like Coyle.
Coyle.
Like Coyle. Yeah. Big, strong.
Two-way.
Can play top six.
Can
play
shoot in the net.
Second power play.
Yeah.
Right-handed shot.
Yeah.
Center iceman. Nice.
Buddy, give me Coyle and Carlo. That'd be great.
Okay.
So today my article. Sorry, go ahead.
Just one more.
Yeah,
thought
please.
On Boston.
Yeah.
I really hope that Tree Living and Sweeney can get on calls. I hope Boston doesn't sit there and go, it's the Leafs. It's a rival. I'm not willing to send them there because I think that's closed-minded, and every team should be what's good for me now, not where I can look and see a guy that I just sent them for the next season.
You look at players that go try to sign one-year deals to win a Stanley Cup and try to predict who's going to be great or whatever. It's impossible. So for these teams trading a player to say, we don't want to trade him to them because it's going to help the Leafs win a cup, you can't know. You just have to get the best return you can. So I hope you're right. Yeah. And that would be an option. My article today was just forward and D pairs if the Leafs were to shop at one place. So Donato and Connor Murphy from Chicago, Lawton and Ristolainen from Philly, and it was Gourde and Alexiak from Seattle. Yeah.
Alexiak
doesn't fit.
My understanding, he's really off the table.
Is he okay?
Yeah. He's got another year. Seattle's going to want to try to make the playoffs next year. You don't necessarily give up those type of guys for picks and prospects.
Yeah, they did the Gourde and Bjorkstrand, though, didn't they? I mean, first, I guess, is different.
I think
a big difference between kind of guys that play 12 to 14 minutes, can fit anywhere between the second line and third line. Those are a dime a dozen compared to an Alexiak.
Yeah.
So Charlie Coyle makes 5.25 against the cap this year
with
and
another
next.
year.
And then you mentioned Carlo. He makes it 4.1 this year and then 2 after that. So, I mean, that's how much money coming onto your cap, the amount that you have to get rid of, the retention. Is Boston going to retain in the division for 2 guys? Like, I don't understand how the math could possibly work on that for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
You know, going forward, you could just say, okay, well, Coyle's going to be Tavares now. You know,
yeah, for sure.
Whatever. But this year, you have to get a third team involved to retain money.
You know, you try to have them take back. I'm sure, Camp to me is almost like not untouchable, but you really do need him in the bottom half of your lineup.
I am glad you said that. I
Okay.
don't see what you have as an option. Holmberg is your 4C without
He hasn't
Kemp.
played center, though. He hasn't been tested. He hasn't been battle tested at center. He's been on a wing the whole season. If you told me in November, we got to get him ready at a center ice position because we may have to move Camp out, I would have bought into that.
Right.
Not now.
No. And Kempf is a guy who, he plays 15, 16 minutes a night for them. He kills penalties.
Yes.
He takes D zone draws. He fits a role for them.
So,
for sure.
Järnkrok to me is left, Järnkrok and Max Domi, right? At salaries that can move the needle.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the perception of Brad Treliving coming into this market is the tire kicks.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't really know that as well. But after last deadline and heading into this deadline, myself, and I think I can speak for some Leaf fans, are getting increasingly frustrated in the reports that the Leafs are seriously interested in this guy and they're seriously interested in this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, if they're seriously interested, let's push one over the line here.
Mm-hmm.
You see what Julien Brisebois just did. And is it an overpay? Certainly.
Mm-hmm.
But, are they way better than they were 5 hours ago?
Yeah.
Yes. And they already have 2 banners hanging.
Mm-hmm.
They have the pursuit. They're going
it's like
all in.
loosen them up to take these swings that make you hit more home runs.
And they had a massive swing and a miss when they tried to trade an entire draft class for Tanner Jeannot.
Yeah.
That did not work out well for them.
But they also had a grand slam when they did it for Hagel and Goudreau. And
I'm looking back at, I don't know, I think I saw you repost this tweet, but since 2018, they've had 2 first-round picks. They've made 2 picks, Nolan Foote and Isaac Howard.
Yeah.
And they've been incredibly competitive throughout that entire time. And it just goes to show that, you need to hit on seconds, and they value having players now and trading first. I do think Leaf fans are way too protective of that 2027 first, that 2026 first. So you're worried about 8 years down the road when Mitch Marner's not signed yet? When Austin Matthews is 28, not getting any younger? I can't understand that perception. Cowan's one thing. Sure, you've seen him. But if the Leafs traded 2 first-round picks for the package that the Seattle Kraken just did, they're way better, and you took nothing off of your team, and you still have your prospects.
Yeah.
I don't. People are way too protective of the first-round picks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
The defenseman, Oshawa, Danford.
Ben Danford.
Yeah, he's gotten some attention, too. He's
People
had
like
a couple good battles for Oshawa.
I
don't know whether or not anybody believes that he won't be anything more than maybe.
Listen, I'm no Bukala. I've seen him play 3 times this year. Like the size, like the handedness. Surprised he's a first-round pick. That's what I would say.
So that's my point.
Yeah.
That a lot of people think that it'd be great if he could fit in your third pair down the road.
Bingo.
Right, but you can find third pair guys.
You can go down south to the NCAA and sign a free agent.
Right.
And get a guy like that.
You can sign Boris Velia or whoever they signed.
Aurora
recently.
Borealis?
They just signed a guy, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how you make up for giving away some draft picks, in all honesty. But you hope that you can hit one.
Well, and you're faced with a choice with the way that Tampa Bay and Florida are operating, and it's that they are going in. You're tied with them in points with Florida. They've gone in and got Seth Jones. This other team's got 2 good forwards. They're a couple points back. You can either say, these are great cup-winning teams who are getting better. We're just going to cross our fingers and kind of hope we can get lucky. Or you can stand up and fight. You can go, okay, well, we're going to need someone too. We're going to need, if we're doing an arms race here, we better buy some nukes. Or at least, I don't know, a BB gun or something would be nice at this point.
Yeah. I think your point is well made that, and I think, Kyper, you disagreed a bit, but I do, just going back to it just feels so late and scary now, where now it's Wednesday at 4, you have 2 days here to significantly.
46.5 hours.
Great math. To significantly improve your team and it feels like the pressure has never been higher. And everybody else knows that. You don't think Danny Briere's like, his two biggest rival general managers made huge additions, and he's barking up my tree. You think the price is going down, boys?
Did Brad Treliving kind of let us know earlier this week with
not today's price.
Hey, temper the expectations here because we have
Toronto. That doesn't work.
I know.
You're
trying to
but
tell
temper it.
Partner to calm down.
Temper the biggest fan base in the league who's dying for success. Temper those expectations.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, Sam.
I know you're not.
What I'm telling you is that at least he appears somewhat upfront about it. Like, we shouldn't be that surprised now. It's Wednesday, going into Thursday, going into Friday at 3 p.m., that they really haven't made any significant changes.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had this conversation for like 2.5 years now. They got to change it up. They got to. The work for me would have been in the off season, making hard decisions, i.e., can I get Marner's contract moved? Can I find a team that'll sign him that he's willing to go to now and get something going here? A decision on Morgan Riley. You know where I stood on Tavares' contract in the last year, whether or not you could move it or shrink it significantly and pick up a retention on it if you moved them. And those to me would have been major decisions. You're not getting those now.
No, but Kip, I think you can say, or they could say, that they made those decisions when you were asking them to make them. And maybe their decisions were that they believe that this group could win.
Bingo.
And if that's the case,
Bingo.
You need to support those guys and give them a fighting chance. You know,
they're going to do something between now and Friday.
I know that.
And it'll probably cost a Minton or a Cowan, but there's just no way they're going to watch Seth Jones and this recent trade with Tampa Bay and, go and get you a 6th or 7th defenseman and call it a day. I don't believe that for 1 second.
No, I sit here fully confident that the Leafs are going to improve. They're going to get a better player forward and a better player defense. I do believe that that's going to happen.
They've got something in mind, clearly, that they're waiting on or sitting on, and you have no choice but to sit here and wait.
And you're probably right that it's not them waiting and sitting at this point. It's, let's say Philly said, we'll do Lawton and Risto, but we're just going to wait to see if someone beats your offer. We're 2 days away here. Let's just sit around and wait.
And that's
probably where you're at.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And when you factor in what we watched last year with Walker, remember Sean Walker? Like, this guy went from, who is he again, to Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
And
Carolina.
If I remember, they got a decent price for him, and that's their style now. Mm-hmm. They're going to turn Lawton into Walker, and they're going to just have everybody bid up and then take the last final offer. But
this goes back to why you've waited too long. Because if 2 months ago you said, hey, let's have that conversation about Scott Walker, Sean Walker, whatever.
Scott Walker.
Let's talk about this guy. We know we have a need. Let's make this happen. I think you have a chance to get it done before there's, they don't know if that guy's going to get hurt. They have a chance to get something for him. I really appreciate, is it Jim Rutherford who always does the early moves, right? It's like January every year. He seems to go get Phil Hronik, or they did the Miller deal early, and
the other Pettersson, Marcus Pettersson, and Drew O'Connor deal that was in start of Feb, maybe.
Yeah, like you have the chance early on. I don't know. Anyway, it gets tougher around now. Now you have to sit and wait to see if you're the highest bidder.
There's no denying what you guys said earlier. I think, Sam, that there is, he's feeling it right now. Mm. He may have a game plan. He may stick to the game plan, but
which is okay. You're in the job for pressure. You're in a big market. You want to be a part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty reasonable to expect, I think, from media and from fans.
All right, let's get the captain, Austin Matthews, thoughts on the trade deadline.
I think you look at our division in particular. It's obviously very tight, and we know management's going to do the best that they can. I think all we can do is just trust in them. I mean, of course, you'd love to see a boost. I think with the way that we've played this year and the position that we're in right now, I mean, we feel really confident, really good about our team and our group. But this time of year, obviously, it's always you see teams adding, and you want to add as well. So I'm sure the management and staff and stuff are doing a lot of thinking right now, doing a lot of homework and stuff like that, and we'll just leave it in their hands. I'm sure they'll do what's best for the team.
Sorry.
Yeah, well put.
Yeah.
As if there wasn't enough pressure on Brad Treliving.
The captain says they need a boost.
Who's literally said nothing noteworthy in 40 years.
That was the longest answer he's ever had.
The only other noteworthy thing he said in 40 or whatever many years was when he said that the fans were quiet during the Reeves fight. There've been 2 times this year. In the longest clip, he comes out, he's like, yeah, we need a boost.
Yeah.
Well,
it's funny having watched both those guys in the Four Nations, like Marner and Matthews, and suddenly, Marner has this moment of like in a big pressure stage where people went, wow, he made some great plays. And he makes a great play with Sam Bennett, who's a Stanley Cup champion and been in the moments, and Connor McDavid, who went to Game 7 of it helps to have great players with you to help you look great. And I'm sure these guys are going, we're good players, but like we could use everyone you could put around us to help us look good. Give us a chance to have success.
Can we have a Max Talbot score 2 in a Game 7 one time?
Yes, give us that guy who you go, okay, Alex Kerfoot gets an OT winner, or whoever it is.
Unless they already think they have one in Holmberg or no, I'm just telling you, that's the way they think.
Is that the way you think?
No, I want to make a trade. Yeah,
but hey,
and
listen,
I like Holmberg, but
me too.
I don't like the way he's developed, like this hot and cold, and sometimes I love him, and sometimes you don't. And I don't know.
I will say the way the Leafs lineup is shaking out. If you add a centerman, a third line center, and a good second pair right shot D, good team. Like the fourth line tonight against the Vegas Golden Knights is Lorenz, Kampf, Yarncroc. That's a very good fourth line in the NHL. You can win with that. The third line, then, if you have McMahon, Lawton, Pacioretty, take your pick of who you like, Holmberg, with that, pretty
Domi.
good. Yeah, Domi.
Yeah, but, I mean, he's, like we've said multiple times before, outside of the core 4 forwards, he's making the most. So, like, is he not on the team in your scenario?
He's not. No.
I'm also...
No.
Okay. Good talk.
I also, though, am concerned about the heaviness and the wear and tear on Matthews and Tavares in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always thought that I have to get something closer to say if Tavares went down, I like Coyle better than I would like Lawton in there.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I like Gourde. But 33 years of age, and he's not that big, and he's not what he may have used to be in Tampa Bay. They're taking a bit of a chance on him too.
Yeah, he had 11 goals in 80 games last year. He's not lighting it on fire. However, he is a guy who's performed under pressure in the past. The Coyle one is really interesting to me, and the reason I like the Ristolainen one on the back end is because everyone's saying they can't get any points from the back end. He's had a 40-point season. He gets a minute of power play time a game.
He can shoot the puck.
He can shoot it. So the other names I've given you, guys like Connor Murphy, they're defensemen.
Yeah.
Risto at least has a little bit of offensive upside to go with being a giant and PK guy and all the rest.
But
just looking at Charlie Coyle's playoff production, I would say that he might fit right in.
Oh, no.
But
I'm a big believer in it doesn't happen until it happens for a lot of guys.
Okay.
It's
okay.
Some people figure it out.
I'm just saying, 1, 2, 2, 3, 2,
Postseason
1,
point.
1. No, goals in the
yeah.
postseason.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's exactly been a playoff ace.
Yeah.
So that would worry me too. But
meanwhile, Yanni Gourde had 7, 6.
Yeah, I mean, like he's
some of those cup runs.
There's just certain guys that are they just all play for Tampa and Florida.
Nick Paul,
Sam Bennett. He's just like haggle.
Yeah.
Just guys that are that type of guy. Anyways, anything else from tonight you want to talk about?
Well, we can talk about the Leafs and not just trades. If we want.
That's true.
On the show the other day, I talked about the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
versus one of the worst teams in the league. And Berube, you got a clip of it, the usage, the player usage of the other night. You want to play
Yeah, let's do it.
Berube on
Good
minutes
point.
played on the big boys?
Well, yeah, like I talked the other day about it, overused him in that game. Circumstances, with power plays and everything that went on overtime. But no, it's obviously it's a concern for sure. And they're used to playing lots of minutes. They got good motors, so they had good energy today.
All right, that's good. At least he's aware of it, right?
Yeah, he's aware of it. I do worry about the haves and the have-nots, and what it says to the have-nots is, come on. Like, I want to play too.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I would too, Kip, if I felt like it was a consistent thing. I feel like he's had a better balance
Yeah.
than they've had in previous years, by and large.
Yeah, there's just no need to play that much against the Sharks on a Monday in the second half of back-to-back.
Yeah.
We do have him on the deadline, too. Does he say anything interesting about it?
He does.
Okay.
He's coy. Let's play it.
Consistency of your team, top of the division.
Luke, of
How
course.
much have your guys earned a boost at the trade deadline, do you think?
Earned a boost?
Yeah.
We're all looking to better our team if we can. That's the best way I'll put it.
How philosophical. Every little bit helps.
I love the player.
I love that player. I love the guy.
The guy. So handsome.
He's a hockey nerd.
Those are great drops.
They are.
So, I mean, the Leafs do have a matchup against one of the league's best hockey teams tonight.
They do.
See, if I had to pick one team to win the Stanley Cup, it would be the team the Leafs are playing tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd pick Tampa.
The Vegas goal. Really?
Yeah.
You've jumped
Over
that
Florida?
much over
Oh, yeah.
Over
Tampa?
Washington?
Yeah, I've
over
watched them a
Winnipeg?
lot recently. They're just
I
getting
know.
better and better.
I know.
And Gensel's unbelievable in the playoffs. They just got another playoff guy. Like they're the best team in the league. I would pick them to win the cup. right now.
Vasilevsky had
Yeah.
been
Anyways,
killing it again.
See, I would go with the blue line of Pietrangelo, and this Nick Hague is big, and I think he's like Ekholm kind of.
Another dream
Light.
ratings final for the
Hey,
Sportsnet.
Hannafin, White Cloud,
Whitecloud.
McNabb, and then they're missing Theodore.
McNabb. And get Theodore back. And they're sneaky right now. Between now and Friday, 3 p.m.,
Yeah.
Vegas, I think, will be sneaky.
I think they got to do something because they don't have enough scoring.
Yeah, Rantanen and the Shen brothers will probably be on,
They
be on their team.
could get Rantanen.
For sure.
They would
could.
be the type of team that says,
You retain again.
no retain. Yeah,
Oh,
you retain, and I don't know. They'll have to take a roster player though. That's the thing. They'd have to give up something of significance. So I don't know who it would be. It's obviously not.
Could it be one of those many D we've been talking about?
I mean, to give them, and if there's one team that's going to part ways with a significant part of their franchise, there's
Yeah, they
been
don't
no
care.
more cutthroat,
I don't
or
know.
other than I guess the Lightning who let Stamkos go.
But
But
yeah. See, that's the thing. Whether you're the Leafs or Vegas or any type of team that contends, is like they need a roster player back.
For Rantanen, yeah.
Carolina has to look Brindamore, Dundon has to look Brindamore in the eye and say, I got your player back.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Rantanen. We tried,
Yep.
but
it's
I
as
got
good as
somebody
Natchez.
back.
I think that's the bar. Is if it needs to be someone as good as Natchez.
It's not going to happen. You're not going to get that guy as talented
Yeah.
off of a team that is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think it's happening.
So
because
what about if you have a contract negotiated? You say to Rantanen, agent's allowed to talk to a team. It's a non-playoff team. He's agreed to extend with the Rangers. I don't know who's a non-playoff team that would do it. Then you could get a guy, a team who says, we're going to miss playoffs, but we'll do it for Rantanen.
But it's not Anaheim. It's not like, why would you?
Who would he
why
extend
would
with?
you? Why would you rush into that when I could just easily take my time and pick it in the off season when I can actually go and actually visit you? I can
then I
physically
can't
go.
see Rantanen getting traded. I just can't see it.
I think it's fair. I think at this point, it's a fair comment that if Dundon's going to eat a crap sandwich for screwing this thing up, maybe he says, I'll do it. I'll do it in July. I'll take the Heat in July rather than now.
Yeah.
I also wonder if you're not better off if you're them just saying, look, we'll give you 15. Like, we need you to stay here.
Okay. And then it's opposite. You don't want a no move. You want to sign the 15 and then get traded in a year.
Great.
The
We'll
NBA
give, you a
model.
move, we'll give you a move clause.
Yeah, a move clause. We have to trade you within the first 2 years.
You can't just at this point put it all in. It's about the money. It's not. They don't make enough.
That
It's
sounds
the spread.
contradictory.
The spread between 12 or 12 and a half to 14 or 15
For sure.
isn't enough
It's not.
to say I want to take the next 7 of my years in my prime and be here.
To make an extra 1 per year.
And
Which
the
is
eighth
why, by
year-
the way, the Marner thing has bothered me too.
The 8th year is so overrated.
That's
Overrated.
That's a new thing you've decided.
Yes, overrated.
I wonder what the timing is on
He's,
that.
It is
he's
very
35.
convenient.
Rantanen's 35 when this retires.
Okay.
You think he's not playing again?
I think 35 is pretty old. I'm not so sure about it. I'm not sure he's going to get another 14.
Okay, so he gets 10 or 11. Now the difference between you wanting to sign and not sign is guaranteeing $4 million.
Well, a pretty big swing to say he's going to be a $10 million guy at 35. Who knows?
If this guy doesn't get hurt
Mhm.
at 35, everybody's going to still want him. The guy's a stud. He's a horse.
If you believe that these guys
do.
are going to
I do.
continue to play and
I do.
earn and-
He's not falling off the face of the earth unless he has a significant injury at 35.
We can talk about that in 7
possible
years.
to prove you wrong right now.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Let's make a bet.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, if we're on the air in 7 or 8
We should go.
years-
We gotta. Anyways, we stop talking about the Leafs. We should go to our guests.
Okay.
Or what do you got? You got something else?
No, I got
Okay.
nothing.
All right. Let's
I've had nothing for 4 years.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair. Well, none of us have.
Break.
Break.
Break it up, baby.
You heard the man. Break. When we return, we'll get more out of Vegas and the Leafs tonight on Real Kyper and Bourne.
Welcome back to Real Kyper and Bourne. Actually, welcome back to Bourne. Bourne and McKee as we cut to Kyper, who is not present on the other side. Kip, he's making calls on behalf of the show. There's a lot of interest out there.
I mean, he has no concept of time. So
Just having a chat about things. We are awaiting Danny Webster, Golden Knight writer from Vegas Review Journal. We'll chat about tonight's hockey match a little bit and about the potential trades that they might be making. We had talked a little bit earlier about could they be a potential Mikko Rantanen trade partner?
can I read you a clip from Julien Brisebois, who obviously made a big trade today to
Yes.
acquire?
And I want to know if it's the same one that I pulled up because there's a couple doozies.
This one is almost a PSA for a lot of my Leaf fan friends that are listening to this show right now. I'd rather have a full lineup of good players than a bank of a ton of draft picks because I think ultimately what we're trying to do is win hockey games. You know,
What a concept.
I understand that a lot of the reason the Leafs are where they are right now is because they traded away some picks. They didn't hit on first round picks. I understand that.
Mhm.
But where you are in your competitive window, this is what you do.
Yeah.
This is how bad teams get multiple first round picks. This is how it kind of works. This is the rotation that
It's communism. The good teams trade away their
Yes.
first to the bad teams while they try to
bingo.
win.
Exactly. And it's like, that's just kind of how it works. So I love that quote from him.
I do too, but there's another aspect of this that I think people have the perception of a first round pick, like whatever the first round pick is a big deal. But here's what Julien Brisebois says. All first round picks aren't created equal.
Correct.
Like the first pick in the draft is not the same as the 32nd pick in the draft. There's a huge discrepancy in the value of those two picks. At the end of the day, what guides us, what drives us is trying to win championship, and that's really hard. In order to do that, you need a lot of good players. I do feel like that gets lost in the whole shuffle because Brisebois doesn't see it as they traded 2 firsts. They traded 2 30th overall
Yes.
picks.
Correct. And I think with, you look at the bottom of the NBA draft, it's not quite as, I think the bottom of the NHL draft, you can still find, the first round, you can still find guys. It's not as quite as bad as the NBA draft is. NFL draft, there's studs everywhere. But yeah, like you're much more likely to be fine with parting with a 30th.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to, like, lose sleep over somebody if you're losing the 28th or 29th or 30th pick and you go to a Stanley Cup final or you go to a conference final and you have all those moments.
The value created, like there's a lot of people that have those advanced models on value created by draft pick slot. And it's like first, second, third, like in a pretty precipitous drop from like, gigantic value, tons of value, lots of value. And then fourth and fifth starts to level out. 6 to 15, there's a slow down. And then 15 on, it's a second round pick, basically.
Correct.
And that trade, it does vary year to year, but I have heard that this year at that level, it's not that great.
So not only is Kyper gone, our exasperated technical director, Derek Rantanen, he ain't answering, man.
All right. We'll use that opportunity. Straight to voicemail. We'll use that opportunity to go through our
and here
clip
comes
list.
Kyper.
Oh, God. What a mess. Okay, well, on that note, we have Kyper back in the house. We also have Mr. Webster, I believe, is calling in. Okay. Well, we'll have him momentarily. Kip, did Marner get traded?
No, nobody got traded.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're gone for a long time. All good?
Yeah, all good. All good.
We're
hot dinner
awaiting
plans tonight,
Danny
or what?
Webster, who we're about to have.
What's that?
We're awaiting Danny Webster, who we're about to have in
All
about
right.
2 seconds here. So
Okay, so like I'm gone like a minute. You guys are in full panic.
No.
What's going on?
it was like
To hold the fort?
Wayne's World when it was just Garth and Wayne's not there.
What's he say?
I forget. It's a great scene, though.
It is really good.
Yeah.
But really good, really funny. No, just, I got a call. And I'm like, I should take that call and just find out can I find anything out? And
Who was it?
it was a team thinking about Rantanen.
Oh,
That's all.
no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. I just wanted to gauge
Were they
their
listening to the
interest in it.
show?
Let's get to our guest, and then
Okay.
we'll follow it up. All right. Danny Webster, Golden Knights writer with Las Vegas Review-Journal. How are you, my friend?
Doing good, guys. How you doing?
We're good. We're good. All right. So where are we on Vegas? And you look at their team, it looks stacked. They look like they're ready to go. But what are your thoughts going into a trade deadline?
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be one weird years where the Golden Knights are going to be very quiet going into the trade deadline. I don't expect them to make the big splash, which is weird when you look at the last year, even the last couple of years, and you see them try and make the big swing for the big fish. And I don't see that as a possibility now. They don't have their first round draft pick for the next 2 years. They pretty much mortgaged their future to get Noah Hannafin and Tomas Hertl last year. The prospect pool is fairly thin. I don't anticipate them incorporating any of the remaining top prospects in a deal. But the funny thing is that, I say they don't have their first two or the next 2 first-round draft picks, and then you see Tampa Bay just give up their 2027 to land and 2 first-round picks to land Yanni Gourde and Olivia Bjorkstrand. So anything really at this point might be on the table. But for the Golden Knights, their roster, for the most part, is relatively healthy, which is, again, another interesting caveat with this season for them. And they're just in a position where I think if they're going to make an addition, it's probably going to be in the bottom 6 in addressing the penalty killing.
Danny, give us the state of the Vegas Golden Knights for Leafs fans who don't get to see them a whole lot right now. They're 4 points up in the Pacific Division. Are they looking like the Stanley Cup contender we've become accustomed to them being?
I think so. I think when you look at how they performed in December, that was probably the one month that really stood out, where they went 10-2, and they were taking down a lot of the top teams. They beat Winnipeg at the time. They beat Minnesota. They were challenging a lot of the really tough teams atop the league, and then they go into January. Right out of New Year's, they lose to Montreal, and then they go on this little bit of a tailspin where, they're not losing games by a lot, but they were losing games in general, and they were losing games that they really should have won. And I think ultimately that's what kind of tempered the expectations a bit. But coming out of the Four Nations break, they've won 5 out of their last 6. They won 2 really big games against New Jersey and Boston right before the break, and they've come back out of the break. They beat Vancouver. They give up 4 in the third period to Los Angeles last Monday, which was what was deemed an inexcusable third period by everybody involved there. And then they almost squandered a 5-1 lead against the Chicago Blackhawks last Thursday. And then suddenly it's to the point where, is this team what we saw before the break, or what we saw against Chicago kind of what we anticipate going forward? And then they come back and beat New Jersey 2-0 on Sunday in a very strong defensive outing on both sides, and great goaltending from Maiden Hill. So I think right now, when you look at the landscape, especially in the Western Conference, they are definitely up there as one of the top contenders in the Western Conference to get back to the Stanley Cup final. I do think that when you look at the likes of Winnipeg and Dallas and Vegas, those are the top 3, and I think Vegas has a strong case to make that it could be the top group among those 3. So whether they add a lot at the deadline in the next couple of days, whether they choose to just kind of stand pat, they feel that they have a group that's strong enough to make a deep run when we get into April.
The Toronto Maple Leafs in Sin City to take on the Vegas Golden Knights. Danny, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks, guys.
All right. Las Vegas
Thanks, Danny.
Review Journal.
Yeah, this Golden Knights team that you like so much,
Yeah.
the Leafs have actually handled them pretty well in Vegas.
It is so typical of the Leafs
It
to
is.
go in there
5-0-3 in the last
and
8 there.
win tonight.
Yeah.
And they are more than capable.
Yeah.
You know, you thought I was in bad shape after coming home from Detroit. Imagine me going to this game in Vegas with all the Leaf fans.
It would be fun.
It'd be a lot of fun.
I gotta tell you, as a player in the minors going to play in Vegas, a lot of fun. Didn't win much. A lot of fun.
What was
The Wranglers.
the Wranglers?
Las
What
Vegas Wranglers.
ECHL?
ECHL, yeah.
What did they play out of?
The Orleans Hotel. Casino, yeah. It was where like the locals gamble. So
Really?
you'd walk through the casino to the arena, which was in the building.
That's
They played
fantastic.
midnight games.
No, they didn't.
They did, not all the time, but they had like a couple midnight games a year, and people be all juiced up.
It is.
They need a 30 for 30 on the Wranglers.
They do. It is pretty remarkable, their story, like right from the get-go.
Yes.
And how fast they got good.
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable.
I mean,
You know,
right from the start. You know,
Right from the start.
the tragedy that right before their season started, and then
Yeah.
their captain,
Yeah.
England, who was
Derek
from
England,
there,
Yeah.
Derek,
in the whole thing, like it just was
even-
a storybook.
even the foundation, even that expansion draft that started with Marc-Andre Fleury,
Mhm.
and just you start with
Marchessault,
that guy
Riley
and you
Smith,
just
William
shot
Karlsson.
it out of a cannon.
Yeah.
And now those original names are etched in stone
Yeah.
for eternity
Yeah.
as heroes in Las Vegas.
Yeah, they're a cool, part of the NHL's history now. I know there's a lot of fans of longtime teams, like Maple Leafs fans, who are like, the hell with them. They're new. They were handed a cup or whatever it is people say. It's a cool story that they did what they did, being this competitive, this aggressive.
When I was there a couple years ago, I think I told you this guy on air, but the Uber driver was in a Golden Knights hat, so I struck
Yeah.
up. He's like, we had to wait our 6th year. And I was
I
like,
know.
you shut your.
I'm sitting beside this guy in Disney last week, and he's like, we're not quite the team we used to be. I'm like,
used to
really?
be.
Wow.
Is that right?
Wow.
Kipper, when you were on the phone with one of your, highfalutin
It was
friends.
Bettman.
Yeah, I was on the phone with Bettman. This Julian Breezewa is doing a press conference right now, and I read this quote to Borny, but I'll read it to you. He said, "I'd rather have a lineup full of good players than bank a ton of draft picks, because I think ultimately what we're trying to do is win hockey games. It's a mentality that a lot of Leaf fans should probably."
Yeah.
Think about.
We keep waiting for like life to catch up to these guys, reality to catch up to these guys, and it doesn't. Like Tampa should have been after the pandemic and their Stanley Cups, like the fall off and then the rebuild, and it's like they dodged that.
I know. It's like
Their guys aren't ancient. like is, there's not like Gensel's over the hills. I mean, with Hagel's, was he 26?
Oh, that point's done. He's washed up.
He's getting
Loser that guy is.
Kucherov's really slowing down.
Yeah. No, they're obviously very, very good. I maintain that they're the most hurt by the flat cap because they did have to lose guys, but they've paid draft picks to get other good guys and keep
free
along.
agents, right? You balance the books. You find a way to get a free agent, and that Gensel's like, lights out on that.
I think
best forward for me for Team USA
grabbing
for
him
most of the games.
I think that there was this perception with the Leafs that when they finally got elite talent, like 2 guys who are top, pick your number, talents, and 4 really good players, that it was like the Oklahoma City Thunder who eventually traded Westbrook and Durant and Harden, and everyone's like, if you just left them together, it has felt like that with the Leafs, where it's like, if you just leave them together long enough, they'll win, right? That talent has to win, right? And we're getting to this point now where you watch another teams, you have to keep pounding, getting the next guy, the next layer. And that's why I think we open the show with urgency today. We want to see that because we know this isn't enough.
And there is a world where if Dubas stays and all the years of punches in the face that he took in terms of this roster and all this stuff, that it looks totally different if he stayed in charge. And I'm not even saying that's the right move, but Treliving coming in here being like, wow, these guys are amazing.
To your point, it was, when he left, it was like something has to happen.
Yes.
And Dubas leaving was the thing that happened.
And then this offseason, it was the coach.
Yeah.
Next offseason, trainers? I don't know. We got a giveaway. On Saturday, March 15th, the Toronto Marlies will face off against the Charlotte Checkers at 1:30 p.m., where the Marlies will take over Scotiabank Arena for a can't-miss showdown, and we are giving away a pair of tickets. To enter for a chance to win these tickets, text code word CHECKERS to 590-590. Standard message and data rates apply. Today's code word is CHECKERS. Test this into 590-590, and your chance to win tickets to next Saturday's game. Should you not win, should you win, you'll need an email associated with a Ticketmaster account in order to claim your tickets. If you don't win tickets with us, you can still purchase tickets to the game at ticketmaster.ca. So there you go. Hopefully Fraser Minton's still in the lineup.
Yeah. Hey, question for you. Who is the higher value trade chip, Minton or Cowan? Because Minton feels can play on your team today. Cowan, higher ceiling.
Yeah. If you think that Cowan is this scoring machine that he's been in London, then it's him still.
So it's a preference thing, what you believe on
what you believe. This is where your scouts come in, and this is where I think Brendan Shanahan was physically in London earlier this week.
Really?
To watch either Cowan or Danford, because it was London, Oshawa.
Do you know what happened?
What happened?
Cowan had a hat trick, including the overtime winner.
Yeah. All right.
That helps.
So
Don't trade my boy.
maybe he was there contemplating on which one to give up this week.
The projection for Cowan.
I mean, it's a great theory. Why else would he go? I love going to games in Oshawa. It's fun.
But
good popcorn. Maybe that's what
I think from a scoring perspective, it's Cowan all day long still.
He's on pace. His season pace is 49 games played, 30 goals, 34 assists, 64 points. He's not having a monster year.
Yeah.
Last year he had 96 points.
But it was only it felt like yesterday he was on this massive point consecutive streak.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The leading goal scorer in the OHL, by the way, is 120 points.
Sammy, our national hour is coming up, and you got a general manager who's not on the phone will be with us. That's kind of cool. Exciting. Don Waddell, Columbus Blue Jackets. And also, I will share whatever I can off my phone call that had you guys twiddling your thumbs while I was away. So I'll share that.
He came back.
Thank God.
More when we return. We go national on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. All right, let's take it up a notch as we go national on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. I want to start off the program by finding our producer, Sam McKee.
Oh, his first fine. We never even picked a total. dollar amount or
I think it's
Timbit box.
coffees.
But the thing is,
No, there's no thing
Yeah,
is. It's a
like-
national show. We're coming off our Leaf Hour. We ditched the Leaf jersey.
but you know fully that I am an idiot. And you know, like, it's the first thing you brought up. So you withheld the information so that you could say this.
That's good
Like,
parenting. That's good
100%.
parenting.
Like,
that's a
yeah. You knew.
you
You,
gotta-
knew it was up there.
How else can I get you to learn?
It won't work. Listen, the days of teaching me anything, there's been too much damage, boys. There's been too much damage.
Well, maybe Don Waddell could talk some sense into you. Hopefully, he could send us one of those really cool
Oh yeah.
Cannon jerseys.
Are we going to ask for it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
asking?
yeah. Oh, of course. Of
You know,
course.
it's
While
really
we got them.
Yeah, it's as simple as the people who send us their jersey get their jersey posted. There you go.
So, they've been an amazing story and
Amazing.
knocking on the door of a playoff spot, which in itself is pretty remarkable. But, man, got a first question may ask him is like, what are you doing coming on our show, man? Shouldn't you be talking to GMs?
Yeah, I am curious to know.
Is he going to be a buyer here?
Well, listen, they got 68 points, and that is good enough for the first wild card spot ahead of the New York Rangers. The Devils now 4 points ahead of them. Just announced that Jack Hughes is out for the year with shoulder surgery. That is a monster loss.
What does that do now to the mindset of New Jersey moving forward? Because that is $8 million that comes off the books. And what does that do between now and Friday at 3 p.m. for New Jersey?
Certainly changes things. Columbus has 2 games in hand, 4 points back with 2 games in hand on Jersey. Jersey is suddenly in trouble. They've lost 2 in a row, 4 wins in the last 10 games. By winning percentage, barely ahead of some of these surging teams. They're probably in the conversation for teams that are going to have to hang on and fight. Will they buy? Will they become sellers? Definitely won't become sellers from a playoff spot.
Jack Hughes is a marvelous hockey player and a very talented one. We know that already. It took a while early in his career to kind of warm up, but I watched him at the Four Nations, and
Was he in that?
yes, he was. He did. To your point, I didn't think he looked great. At times, he looked a little tentative, outmatched. I don't know. You tell me. You watched.
Honest to God, I cannot believe how ineffective. He had no impact on any game I watched. I watched the Americans play 3 of their 4 games.
Was he a little over his head with the physicality? What was the issue?
I mean, that might be the assumption of why he wasn't noticeable, but Jake Gensel's not physical. He had the puck in every big spot in every moment. Jack Hughes is a guy who people talked about for Hart trophies. He's almost got 30 goals already.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened in that tournament, and I didn't watch him closely after it, but it just seems like between the tournament that he had and then the surgery today, it just seemed like it was like, heading in the wrong direction for him this season. That's all.
I agree. And it's one of those things where it's like, had I watched his shifts like a video coach, it might be different. But I just watched the games as a fan and didn't see him make a play where Jack Hughes sometimes can be as electric as anyone in the league. And not sure why that hasn't been the case for him. But now, top scorer Jesper Bratt, and behind him it's Hischier, Meyer. That to me, that takes them out of being a cup contender.
Okay, so
And they were the favorite to start the year, if you remember.
So what do you? Okay, we'll get into maybe what New Jersey does. More importantly, what's Columbus Blue Jackets going to do? Let's welcome in the president of hockey operations and the general manager for Columbus, Don Waddell. Don, how are you, man? Thanks for joining us. My first question is you got a few minutes between phone calls right now, because I gotta imagine it's fun, it's stressful, it's hectic. How do you describe a week going into Friday?
Well, there's a lot of feeling out, let's say. As we get closer to Friday, things become more real. Right now, from my end, I think prices are a little high in some areas, especially for rental players, because there's not a big rental market, and I can understand those teams. But things will settle down here in the next 36 to 40 hours, and we'll see where we come out.
So are you in the rental kind of market, or would you consider a hockey trade beyond thinking about expiring contracts?
Yeah, we have a couple first round picks, but we're not going to trade those for rental players. It doesn't make any sense. Our team's done a great job to hang in there, but we very well could miss the playoffs too. And you give up a first round pick, it just doesn't make sense for where we're at with our franchise. Hockey deals we're wide open from. We have talked to several teams today about potential those kind of deals, because we're going to need good players going forward too. And we're willing to pay those prices. I prefer to do the hockey deals, but if there's a rental deal that makes sense, we'll certainly jump on it.
Don, I know that hockey people don't necessarily pay attention to the predictions of analysts out there, but I don't know where you guys saw your franchise this year, but was there a point where in the season you said, okay, we have something here. Maybe we have something more than we expected to?
It's no doubt. If you had told me on March 5th that we'd be sitting in a playoff spot, I'd be lying if I thought we would be, with everything's happened to our franchise. But, these guys have done a tremendous job. And through the tragic with Johnny and then all the injuries we've had this year, these guys have hung in there and find ways to win games. And so, that's why I feel like if we can reward them somehow by bringing in somebody that helps us, that makes sense. But, to think we would be sitting where we are at this point, I'd be lying if I told you I thought we would be in this spot.
Don, when I played, sometimes, you think you're way better than maybe even your coach thinks you are. And sometimes you look behind the bench and you're like, just open the door and let the guys out. And then you get older and then you start realizing what a good coach could do for a hockey club. And, not to throw any former coaches in Columbus, down, but like Dean Evison comes, and how important is it, like, over the years that you've watched coaches behind a bench? And it just seems to me if you got the right guy and the right general back there, it makes all the difference in the world. And just speak of his year so far.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Dean's a very emotional guy, more of a motivator. We got great assistants that work more on the technical side. Not to say Dean's not involved with it, but, the players love to play for him. And, he being an ex-player, he's been through the battles that these guys are going through. And I know every night, we're not going to win every game, but we're going to compete hard every night. That's the one thing we're known for around the league, is that we show up to play every night. And certainly we've had some bad games throughout the year, but usually we don't get outworked.
Don, I played with Scott Ford in the minors. I can tell you he's one of the best leaders that I played with, too. He's a great coach. I'm sure you guys have there. Sorry, I was going to ask you about the Winter Classic, because I see that beautiful sweater you're wearing with the Cannon logo. We are here actively coveting a jersey to hang behind us here, Don.
Yes.
At some point to represent the Blue Jackets. Who do we talk to about that?
Wow, if you're going to hang it back there, I will take the one in my office here and send it to you tomorrow.
Done deal.
Yeah, you have our word. It'll hang. But how was that experience? That was a massive win in the standings for you guys, and it looked like just a overall success.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be able to be part of it. We had Detroit on Thursday. We played Detroit. We beat them, and we played really well. Saturday night, we didn't play as well. Detroit was better, but our goalie was really good to win. But to play in front of 95,000 people at the shoe, being a Michigan guy coming to Ohio State and play was a little interesting to say. But I can't think of anything that went wrong that night. I've been very fortunate. I've been in two parts of these two outdoor games the last couple of years in Carolina here, and what a phenomenal event for our fans. And the other thing it does for us really here is, I know the Blue Jackets have been around for a long time, 25 years, 24 years, but there's still a lot of people in this Ohio area that haven't experienced Blue Jackets hockey. So having that many people be able to come out and see it was tremendous. And I know our TV ratings were off the charts. So overall, it was a great evening and a great experience for all involved.
Hey, Don, at any point, if you get a call, like, just take it. We'll wait for you, you know.
I muted my phone on purpose.
Full credit to you, Don. You were on our show months ago. You said Olivier's not going anywhere. You announced a 6-year deal at $18 million, I believe. And where's your thoughts on having Olivier now moving forward? And then Provorov also is out there still, and where your thoughts are on him either staying or going.
And Olivier, you know, I didn't know Matthew. I tried to trade for him multiple years because I thought he was the kind of player that we needed when I was in Carolina. But I really got to know him personally this year, and what a good person this is. Good family man. He wanted to be here. He wanted to stay here. But what I really learned about him, you know, this year we lost Boone, Jenner, and Gourde early in the year, and we needed some guys to step up. And Monahan, Morensky, and Olivier really stepped up. Matthew, you know, when you're playing, if you go back in his career, he's playing 8 to 10 minutes a night. It's kind of hard to be that guy. But all of a sudden, he's playing 14, 15 minutes, killing penalties, contributing offense. He's got 12 goals this year. And all I know is we don't have any issues from a physicality standpoint. People don't try to run outside the building, you know, with Matthew being around, and he doesn't even have to fight anymore because nobody really wants to fight him. But I think he's second.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, I think he's second in the league in hits. You know, he forechecks, hits hard. You know, I really speak more about right now what he's done for our team and keep it at it, but what he does on the ice for us. He gives the Kent Johnsons and the Fantillis, these young players, the space to be able to go out and play the game that they need to play.
And Provorov, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Proby, you know, I've had multiple talks with Mark Gandler. You know, Proby really wants to stay here. We just have a difference of opinion right now in term and dollars, which is normal. But we totally agreed yesterday to kind of put the talks. I told him I'm not going to trade him. You know, it's different this year for me than probably other years as a GM. You know, what these guys have gone through this year and how they stuck together I'm very impressed with that. You know, I can't even comprehend how they've done it all year long with all the injuries and everything we've had. So for me to rip out a key player of our locker room right now, I just don't feel good doing it. You know, so I told his agent yesterday, I'm not going to trade him. And if we can continue to talk, and he's 100% on board with that. So, you know, this will go into the summertime as I fully expected to, but we're still very hopeful that we can get Proby signed. He's been a big part of our success this year and get him signed long-term come the summer.
That's great that you guys have, banded together like family there. So if you do look to add somewhere, do you have somewhere in particular you're hoping to make an addition?
Yeah, we'd like that up front. You know, we have so many injuries. I got Monahan out, Sillinger's out. I got a couple minor league guys that have been fine. They've been filling the gaps for us. But, you know, we need some NHL players. You know, if we're going to try to maintain our position in the standings and win some games, you know, nothing against, again, the guys that we brought up. But you need that NHL experience. This is tough time. This is playoff hockey right now for us. You know, every game matters, and every game could be the difference of getting in and getting out. So we're chasing down a lot of guys right now, and we're hopeful that we can be able to add to this group to take that next step.
Don, is it fair to me to say that center ice is the premium position right now? That's where probably it's most expensive.
Yeah, it is. You know, and right now, with Sillinger and Monahan being out, both of them will be back probably, hopefully, in the next 3 weeks. You know, we felt we were really strong down the middle with Fantilli and Danforth and Crowley. So we would look at any forward spot. A couple of those guys can play the wing if we have to. You know, if I said I could get the right person right now, I'd love to get a right winger that could play with in the top 6 group. And saying that is easier to say than to actually get done. But we're hopeful that we can at least get some guys that can help us through the next, rest of the season and get us to the postseason, and along with getting Monahan and Sillinger back at some point here.
Is it looking around your division? You'd said that, not that you're surprised by where you guys are at, but just happy that it's kind of at the ceiling of where you thought you might be. Are you surprised by any other teams? like the Washington Capitals, I don't know if anyone saw them doing what they're doing. And then there's teams on the outside, like the Bruins seem to be sellers. Anything shocking you from around your division or the conference?
I think every year you could look at it and you go into the season, you think who's going to be the best teams and who's going to struggle. And, Washington obviously made the playoffs last year, I think on the last day of the season or the last weekend. And, they've made some great changes in the offseason. Chris Patrick's done a great job there with Brian McClellan, to make their changes, and they're right at the top of the conference. And some teams, the injuries have hit a little harder. Boston loses McAvoy at the Four Nations, and he's a big piece of their team. And then Marchand goes down, so you just never know.
Hey, Don,
in and game out.
before we let you go, just take our watchers and listeners a little bit on what the next 48 to 72 hours, I guess, would be like for you. So you got your thoughts and ideas on certain players, and maybe the price is a little too high. Is there a witching hour between now and Friday, 3 p.m., where there's a cutoff where prices actually do drop and you wait? And do you fight that 3 p.m. to get into the queue or line up or get a trade in?
Yeah, you hope you don't have to wait that long. I think Friday morning to me is always the key. I've seen prices drop drastically. Especially if you're a team that has unrestricted guys that you can't sign. If you're asking for a second round pick, maybe Friday morning you take a third round, a sure thing, and turn the page. So, I think teams, and I've been on both sides of it. So I think right now, with the time that's still left, teams are saying what their asking price is, and we'll see how they may get it between now and Friday. And if not, there might be some teams that instead of losing a guy for nothing, takes a pick lower, and just get that asset.
Is it okay if I report that you're waiting for the price for Rantanen to go down just a little bit?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be the team I'll be trading with.
All right, we'll scratch off a Carolina to Columbus trade between now and Friday.
Yeah, there you go.
Don, always a pleasure to have you on our show, and always appreciate your insight. Thanks for doing this.
No, absolutely. Anytime, guys. Enjoy the next few days.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much.
And the jersey.
Thanks, Don.
I got it going. I already wrote it down. I got it going.
All right.
You're a good man. Don Waddell, president of hockey operations, general manager of quite possibly the best third unis I've ever seen.
Well, and this is now going to be our Blue Jackets half hour because he's committed to the show. So we're going to have to do a little bit more Blue Jackets.
Even the track jacket he was wearing.
It's a great
Very
sweater.
nice.
Great
Right?
sweater.
Jacket. Yeah.
I want to wear that on our segment
With Doug.
McLean on Fridays off
And
the
be
rails.
like, aren't the Blue
Because
Jackets a
his
success?
fingerprints, of course, are all over that cannon.
Yeah.
So, that's some news. Provorov, you got to take him at face value
that's
there.
the second time we've had him on that he's just openly broke news. So Provorov not available.
Yeah. And with everything that they've been through and that emotion that has followed them since the tragedy, totally makes sense that if you feel like this is a special group that maybe I think they're going to get in.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to make the playoffs.
I know, that's shocking. I will say, and it sounds corny, but there are different ways to be a success. And of course, we judge it by Stanley Cups and pro sports and, championships and all that. But it's impossible not to look at what's happened in Columbus this year and not say that they've had as much success as anyone.
Yes, 100%.
That we do the Jack Adams Trophy every year, and we give it to the team typically who outperforms expectations the most. Mm-hmm. If Columbus gets in, everyone had pretty much handed the Jack Adams to Spencer Carberry. Are we sure Dean Evanson wouldn't deserve some love?
You'd have to say. I think he'd be a finalist.
I don't know what they finished last year. 30th?
Yeah, they were not great. So
can find that answer.
I'm just looking at the standings here. On the outside looking
29.
in now, by points percentage, I guess it's pretty close. But they're the Sens, Rangers, Red Wings are all within a point percentage of each other. Oh, here we go.
My good gravy.
But the Habs right there, like of all those teams, I like Columbus for one of the spots, and I like the Rangers for the other spot.
Rangers for sure, right? They underperformed expectations. They win the President's Trophy last year. They have 114 points. Like, that's a good team.
And JT Miller's lighting it up now, and they're getting
JT
goaltending. I just, Red Wings got real.
Sens, what are you doing?
Come on, Sens.
We could have a Brady Kachuk conversation at some point throughout this show, but I think Red Wings had that really hot stretch after Todd McClellan got fired, and they've kind of come back down to earth a little bit. So you got to like the Jackets there in that spot.
You do. There's no doubt that they've got as good a shot as anyone. Sorry, I'm looking up Ottawa stuff because just really frustrated by
I
them.
think they could really use a Brandon Tanev in Ottawa.
They
need some. They need some energy. They need some.
He definitely helps them.
Yeah, they need that starter. He's a starter. He can ignite.
Yeah. And Seattle said they would retain 50%, so you'd get him at 175, which is good. It's not enough.
No.
It's not enough. It's just not enough.
Who'd they lose a while back? Cousins?
Trading for
There's not
him.
much room there.
It just feels like that's kind of the band playing on the Titanic there, trading for him. It's just going in the wrong direction for Ottawa. And I don't want to make fun of them every show that I do, but, they got pretty excited when they were 2 points back at the Leafs there for a little bit. They were pretty excited about that.
And you're pretty excited to tell them that they shouldn't have been pretty excited.
You know what I said that day? I said, just be careful. Just be careful. I said, listen, just be careful,
They're now
guys.
14 points back at the Leafs.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit to the West because there's a certain team out there that was described as fragile. And it looked really fragile last night in Edmonton.
Yeah, what's happening?
Is it just
Did you watch that game?
too simple? I caught I did not watch the whole game in the entirety, but enough to see that I don't know,
Turnover, lack of defensive
they're
commitment,
leaking oil
goaltending.
everywhere. Unintended.
They've lost 6 of their last 7. McDavid's talking about not playing well enough. Goaltending, they're not starting Skinner, and Pickard's not looking any better.
What do you do? Because everybody keeps saying they're not going to trade for a goaltender, and I don't know.
Why
We
do
just
they
saw
keep saying
Chicago. We saw Chicago do something with Spencer Knight, and it's not like there's a lot of pickings out there, but
One of the worst things to happen to this Oilers team might be that Stu Skinner's an awesome guy. Like, if he were just a jerk, like, maybe they'd be like, all right, well, but everyone loves him. They love him. He's a great
you can't
guy.
tell me that, like, they're not going to make a professional decision on their goaltending because they really like somebody.
I'm saying if they're
It's
like
not Sally Field.
buddy, he's the exact guy who's like, should we keep him or shouldn't we keep him? I read articles today from Edmonton writers. Should I keep him? Should I not keep him? The tiebreaker seems to be everyone loves the guy. And yes, last year in playoffs,
And within a game,
he was very good. So they believe he can reach that level again. And they like him. If they hated him, they'd be like, all right, bring me Bennington, bring me John Gibson, bring me.
Remind me, on the decor last year, was it Ty Emberson and John Klingberg for half of the right side of your decor?
No.
Okay.
Emberson, Stetcher, Klingberg,
Kulak.
Bouchard is their right side right now, I think.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
so on the heels of Jack Hughes out for the rest of the season, Edmonton went and got Trent Frederick, which
I love for them.
Yeah, I don't think there's not many that wouldn't appreciate a guy like that in the lineup. I just
Wish he was playing.
wonder why you would trade for a guy that is he going to play soon? He may not play till the end of the year.
I know. He may not play till playoffs.
Like,
But they're going to make playoffs. They're going to.
I know, but you also need a guy that you trade for to play now. Okay? I don't like it. Me personally, I cannot believe that. Like, what happens if he has a setback and he doesn't play?
Mm-hmm. Trent
Like,
Frederick.
what did they give up? At the end of the day, they gave up the second round pick from St. Louis and a fourth.
They gave a second fourth. Shane
Wainer,
LaChance.
Wanner.
Shane LaChance to
But-
retain 50% of the contract. And yeah.
They got him
Okay,
at 5.75, by the way.
So he's hurt,
Yeah.
and you're hoping that he comes back at, I don't know, 80, 90%. I don't think anybody truly comes back 100%, but maybe he does. But it just seems to me like I'd rather trade for a guy that can come into my lineup right away, especially now.
But not if he's the right guy. He's the right guy for them. You know?
I'm not sure. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. They got a lot of. He's not playing 18 minutes. He's a 12 to 14-minute guy.
He's got his last couple of years, Kip, 17 goals, 18 goals. You're right. He plays.
What is he? This year he's had an off year.
This year he has 8 goals in 57 games.
Okay, but
Playing
he's
13.50 a night. Minus 14.
13.50 a night,
That's his career high.
right? He's not my first. A guy that's averaging 13 minutes a night
Who
is
can
not
score you
my
20?
first choice on making a trade.
No.
That's all.
But
That's-
he can.
It bothers me that he's not in the lineup.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And I agree that it'd be great if he was. I just feel like this Oilers team is good enough on their own merits to get into a good playoff spot. They're 4 points behind Vegas for the division lead. I know they're struggling right now, but this
I don't think
guy
I've ever.
can help them.
I don't think I've. I don't know. Did we see him bad when we doubted them a few years ago?
Who?
Right?
Last year when
Edmonton.
we also,
Yeah.
well, you and me said they weren't going to make the playoffs. Bourne held strong.
Yes.
doubt of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they as bad now as they were? What were they like? 3 and
They're
14?
they've got this going on. You know, like
They were 5. I think it was like 5 and 16 or
Yes,
something at some
it was.
point.
they seem more than any team I can remember in the NHL capable of flipping the switch and being like, okay, it's getting out of hand. Let's go on a 10-game run.
That's if two guys
Yes.
take charge.
That's right.
So you talk about the fringes of all this and adding Frederick and you look at the bottom half of their lineup and it's not,
Okay.
it's Connor McDavid is minus 14 in his past 8 games.
that is staggering.
Minus
He's
14. Minus
at
14 is,
5 on
yeah,
5.
Like,
that's,
How does that
This-
happen?
Kipper's going to blame the Four Nations.
no.
Are you sure?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I will. I don't know. He's just, to your point for Austin Matthews, I don't know. He scored the last goal of the game last night was like scary how fast he was going, but he still seems to have that gear. just not-
77 points in 55 games.
That's not Connor.
It's not Connor. First in the NHL right now.
Right.
I want to say Leon, Cooch. They're 91, 90.
But- You just, as bad as it looks and as bad as they've been playing, losing 6-2 to the Anaheim Ducks on home ice is
No.
just not
No.
a outcome that you
No.
would ever like.
And now with like 20 games to go,
Yeah, that's maybe like
right?
yeah.
a November result or something,
But-
but just I don't know.
I'm-
They had 2D behind the net for turnovers. They
Listen.
had D. No, it was ugly.
They should trade for Bennington.
They made some commitments to Jeff Skinner and Arvidsson. And
Combined, they've
not,
given those guys 7 schmil with Holloway and
not-
Broberg.
but not a fan.
No,
Not a fan. That's even
those are big mistakes.
Adam-
Huge
Adam
mistakes when you're so
Henrique,
close to a
right?
cup.
Adam Henrique, you made a commitment there. He's on the books. He's on the books, I think, next year too.
Yeah, Broberg and Holloway are lighting it up, and that I know people know that, but it really does
That-
hurt.
That's significant.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a lot of pressure on Stan Bowman. He really did jump on a moving train or a jump on a moving treadmill or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they are coming off their most successful season with not a ton to work with in terms of, picks and cap space. And he comes in, they immediately do the offer sheets. He's put under the gun, makes the wrong decisions on those guys. Now they're in a tough spot, pretty close to the playoffs. He's trying to make moves. He trades for a guy that's not going to play. As much pressure as we talk about on Treliving here in Toronto, there is a insane amount of pressure on Stan Bowman too. There
You
really is.
Got to get Connor a cup. I mean,
Gotta.
All right.
Game time?
Game time.
All right. I forgot my lineup upstairs, so I got to read it off my computer, and I should be able to say it off by heart now, but I've only done it 100,000 times. It's game time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. please play responsibly.
Well done.
Thank you. I had read it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I was going to say, no, I got my lineup on my computer. I'm just pulling up the stuff here. I wanted to quickly look at the futures for the, because we mentioned the coach of the year stuff as I try to quickly pull that up. But instead of that, for right this second, I'll look at the games on the ice tonight. The Toronto Maple Leafs in Vegas to take on the Golden Knights. Golden Knights, heavy favorites tonight, minus 160 on the money line. Toronto Maple Leafs, plus 135 on the money line. If you're in Vegas tonight, I'm sure there'll be a couple Toronto Maple Leaf fans going to their favorite casino to put a nice bet on their favorite team going in there. The Vancouver Canucks hosting the Anaheim Ducks on the second half of back-to-back. Big faves on home ice, minus 200 against the Anaheim Ducks, plus 165.
The Red Hot Ducks, the Ducks might be the foremost. Wait, they're not completely smoked in the standings, team. They're 5-6 points out of a playoff spot. I mean, they're not good.
Yeah, and they've got this guy everybody's talking about as the most underrated player in the league, Jackson Lacombe. Ever heard of him?
Yes,
I hadn't heard of him today until somebody was showing me his numbers. But yeah, he's been amazing. So we got that. And the other game that I was going to bring up tonight, I don't know, there's just something about these two jerseys matching up. It's a classic Central Division matchup, or Metro Division matchup. The Washington Capitals versus the New York Rangers. New York Rangers are slight favorites on home ice, minus 105 against the Washington Capitals.
And the Ovi's Great Chase continues, and they're donating money to a cancer charity for every
what's the
goal.
number?
He's 10 away.
I think he's 11, isn't he?
Yeah, 11 from breaking, 10 from tying.
Yeah.
Someone needs to tell me which one we're excited about. I actually don't know. Is it the tying or the breaking that's the big deal?
Will they empty the bench for both?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Go for skate.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess it is the all-time goal record. You could probably celebrate it both ways. Anyways, that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the odds and find out why it's ever ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, let's take a quick break. And when we return, we'll get into a few NHL news and notes.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
Brock
talk
Nelson.
about just a little bit more of a conversation on the Oilers and losers of 6 and 7 and how this may affect Connor McDavid's future.
Oh, take it.
Yes.
Oh, we're having that conversation.
Take it.
Yes.
We're having that
let's.
conversation.
That's
Where are teams now on Rantanen? We'll get into that as well after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the program. A reminder, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee.
Do I still have to buy coffees and put the Canada jersey on?
Yeah, you
Half
still
a
owe
coffee.
coffees. It's
Crap.
way too late to change.
But if you win a car from Roll Up the Rim, I bought it, so I get it.
Oh, you guys need to negotiate.
Yeah.
By the way, that Tampa Bay deal that everyone talked about today,
Mhm.
if the picks end up being in the top 10, the picks move back a year and Seattle gets an additional third every time that happens.
That's kind of cool.
That's fun.
Really?
Little bonus
Yeah.
tidbit.
Yeah.
Getting creative with these trades.
Just before going to the break, I just wanted to follow up because we ran out of time just on Connor McDavid. And, I'm not starting a panic or anything. I don't want to do that. I just want us to have an adult conversation.
Let's just have a talk.
Let's just have
There's
a talk.
no harm in talking.
There's not. But I do believe that it is real important for the future of Connor McDavid that this team continues to look like a favorite.
Yeah.
And end up going to a Stanley Cup final. It's that kind of simple for me. And Connor McDavid is eligible to sign a contract July 1st. And for that to happen, he really needs to believe in the program, and his Stanley Cup is still coming.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't look like that, it messes a little bit with him signing July 1st, from my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? Like,
Well-
I've watched him in the last year and a half, and this guy knows now that he needs a Stanley Cup really badly. Like when I watched the documentary there in Game 7, where you feel it. I can only imagine how he is day to day.
He
And
is a competitor.
I
Grumpy.
I think it's
In a good way.
I think it's really important, and I don't know whether or not between now and Friday could help him, but it's best to help him is my biggest point.
That's fair, but I do think that the way they're set up, they're going to have a chance. They're good. I think it's a fool's errand to say that any player, and I did we do this in the first hour, can pick the team that's going to win the cup next and go play for them. Like, you're just going to be on one of the teams that has a chance, and there's no reason the Oilers shouldn't have a chance. Leon Draisaitl is signed for 100 more years. Zach Hyman is there. RNH is there. You know, these are good players, and I understand they're getting a little older.
I watched that blue line in the last 2 weeks, and I go, that's not a Stanley Cup final blue line.
I guess it depends where you think it's at. Is Ekholm going to get worse in recent years? Has Bouchard hit his ceiling? Those are some decisions. I do feel like if you clean up some of the fringes of this team, and they can in the next 46 hours, they'll have a shot this year. And so by the time he has to make the decision on that contract, they should still be really good. I get your point that this guy is not the type of player who's going to just play out the string on a team that's not going to win this whole career. He was pretty pleased to win that Four Nations Cup and have team success. And yeah, as you mentioned in the documentary, it's important to him.
So what you're saying is that you think the goal in overtime is going to be recreated in 2 years in Toronto.
Oh, my God.
Stop it. Stop it. I just...
Why are you the way that you are?
This is I look at this lineup and I'm a little concerned on it right now. It's looking a little thin for me.
So
we said this multiple times last year too, to be fair, and they did figure it out.
Okay.
No, it's like,
but
I agree totally, Kipper. It doesn't look great.
I'm
but
okay.
we did have
I'm
the
okay being
convos.
wrong.
For sure.
Trust me, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, me too.
So in playoffs last year, how were they different? Like they had Broberg on D.
Yeah, but he didn't come in until the playoffs,
But
right?
he did play pretty much all. I think he played 25 playoff games or something.
Did he? I thought he
Holloway was in.
10 during the regular season, then maybe he went in.
Yeah. Warren Fogle was a part of it. Yeah, they're slightly different than last year, but I do
They
think
traded a kid to Buffalo, McLeod.
Yeah, Ryan McLeod for Savoy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner have not been what they had hoped they would be.
He played 10 playoff games, Broberg.
Okay.
Because he came in.
My bad.
No, but he came in halfway through it, and they started mixing him in. Then he went in, and he didn't come out. I remember late.
Maybe I was thinking Holloway played 25.
Anyways, it's just CC played too. Did you say CC?
Who?
CC, Cody CC.
Oh yeah.
Who's a big part of their penalty kill that went like 100 straight penalties without giving one up. Like
right.
They are worse, and they have a chance, like you said before the deadline, to get better. So we'll see if they do.
Okay.
Rantanen?
I took a call prior to our guest Danny in Vegas, and there is a sense.
Sounds like a Leafs line call.
there is a sense right now in Carolina with what is happening now is they talk to clubs that we mentioned the other day that for Carolina to get their best return on him, they want teams to trade for him and have the assumption that they will sign him to a long-term deal.
Yes.
So that changes the parameters on what comes back to Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So that process has to start now because there's no time tomorrow night or Friday to go through the process to say we are negotiating as if we're giving him to you for the next 8 years. So give us your offers now.
Because then you have, and take the Maple Leafs, honestly, as a team I know well and can make an example from, where it's like you would trade Matthew Nyes for Rantanen.
Yeah.
Because you'd get Rantanen's this year cap hit for this year, knowing that next year you have mad money coming off the books, and that player helps Carolina, and you get a guy. Nyes is not the example, but
what it does too now, it even takes a team like the Boston Bruins, who are out of the playoffs, in play, because it's like, okay, if we don't sign Brad Marchand, we'll have Rantanen for the next 7 or 8 years.
Right.
So Carolina's trying to invite even fringe teams in to say, but what has to happen is he essentially has to have his July 1st, like today or tonight or tomorrow. So there could be behind the scenes a bidding war now.
Every team in the NHL, I am falling all over myself to be a part of this conversation. Particularly, Leafs included.
No. Oilers. Edmonton
Rantanen.
Oilers. Vancouver. Everybody is sitting there going, if we thought about signing him July 1st, we may be asked that tonight. And then you've got to give Rantanen and his agent a chance to negotiate and then go, hey, thank you. I'll get right back to you.
Do you think you do the deal, then talk to Rantanen about the contract, or do you talk?
What you do is you're Carolina and you're saying, you give me your best offer thinking that you're going to sign him. And that's to your point. I'm not renting Rantanen and giving you Matthew Nyes, but I may consider giving you Matthew Nyes if I've got this guy for the next 8 years.
100% you would do that.
That's where it could head very quickly here.
Would you trade
Pedersen? Of course.
Would you trade Nyes?
Oh yeah, for Rantanen. Oh my God.
If it's the long-term thing,
I'll trade Nyes with a first.
Yeah.
If I can get Rantanen under contract.
This is the way Carolina thinks that they can.
Yeah. Oh God.
Stay in control of pushing for the playoffs as early as this year with no significant loss.
Wow. Yeah. So that's fascinating to then go around the league, because really tough to imagine who that is from the Oilers that, gives them who they want for this year. But yeah, you do have to kind of go around these teams and say,
it's still very difficult because now it's a real hockey trade, right?
Would you do Draisaitl, knowing you could extend Rantanen?
Nope. Yeah, that's not happening.
I know.
But anyways, fascinating stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy. Brock Nelson.
Brock Nelson, after last night's game, was interviewed on the bench by longtime host Shannon Hogan. I don't know if she's listening, but she rules. She's like the greatest host in hockey for me. And Brock kind of tears up a little bit. He gets emotional talking about what it's meant to be there over the years. After Shannon Hogan talking about it, tears up. Like, it seems like someone has told Brock it's probably the end of the road here, that he's this invested. So now it's a matter of who, where, when, how that happens.
Well, after the waterworks, they better trade. I'm going to be a little awkward to not have it.
Right? Yeah.
It does speak volumes on no matter what generation you're from. You got a comfortable pair of shoes, or you like the community, you like your neighbors, you like your wife and kids situation, that we don't get to see that part.
No.
What we see is Islanders have been a mess for like 3 years. Why does he want to stay?
Yes, they're not going to win a cup. You're a center. Go win a cup for someone else.
What rink are they playing in this week?
Yeah.
Right? And yet, there he is, all emotional on the thought of leaving.
It's a great place to live. People know I'm very biased on that, but it's a great spot. And the new rink is exciting. And,
yes.
Yeah.
I think I saw, did you allude to something about his relationship with the fans? Like, they really like him there?
For sure. He's been a workhorse through all this, right? One of the guys who threw 9 rinks and the practice and the commutes and whatever, and just stuck it out and shot it in the net a bunch. So yeah, it'll be interesting. You mentioned Winnipeg for him.
Feels like a good fit.
Yeah. And again, a guy that can play in all positions, right?
Yeah.
So top 6 guy, can shoot it in the net, big and strong. There's going to be a very good market for him.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on a team like the Jets disrupting their chemistry? They seem like a chemistry team, and I've heard people say, like, you don't want to mess up what they've got going on.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, get good players. He's a good guy. Get good players.
I'm sure they'll hate a guy that comes and rips it in the net.
If the chemistry's strong already, he's not messing it up.
He's not going to come in and be like, we're doing it my way now.
Oh, my gosh. It's just, it's an overrated thing to say. But a good players adapt, and good people find their lane, and he would in Winnipeg.
They're not trading Adam Lowry for him. Like
No.
they're gonna it's gonna be
same-
a prospect. It's gonna be picks. It's not gonna be
Yeah.
like you're just inserting him into an already really good.
Now,
By the way,
where's
Jets
he?
talk,
Jets talk.
unbelievable. They're still so good.
Oh yeah.
They're so good. They have a plus 70 goal differential,
And they
88
lost.
points.
They lost to the Islanders.
Yeah, they lost. Still,
3-2.
Oh, let them lose. They got to lose a little bit.
And they barely have, but
It's
they
good.
have.
It's good for them to
They're in a
lose.
little skid here, but I like the timing of it because it says to the GM, "This is what it looks like, and it feels bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
they're
need to add someone for it."
7-2-1 in their last 10. They're
So
really.
we're-
But I think it's 3 in a
Where's-
row where they've only
Yeah.
Where's Brock from? Like Minnesota?
War Road, Minnesota, I believe.
So that's like, what, 3 hours?
Yeah, it is.
It's almost like being home a little bit.
It's a suburb, but at least in terms of the weather, it's not that different.
Oh, it's
He-
really
he-
cold.
He'd go to Winnipeg, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think
Does he have a full no
I'm
move?
sure he does.
He must.
The guy's making 6 now.
I imagine if he's going to be a rental somewhere, he wants to go somewhere where he can win, and they're the best team
I
in the
know,
NHL
but
right now.
it is factual that many guys have Winnipeg on partial no trade lists.
Of course.
And that's a challenge for Kevin Cheveldayoff right now.
That is, and that probably makes his job harder than people appreciate, that most people do have Winnipeg on their no-trade list.
Modified no trade for him. 16 teams on that list. I'd be willing to
All
bet.
those lists are 7 Canadian teams and 9.
What are the odds that Winnipeg is on that list?
They wouldn't post that on Bet365 because it's too much of a lock.
Yeah, it's like, you just assume, and there's not a Winnipeg knock.
So
It's
you would have
Canadian
to-
teams plus
Yeah,
9.
you'd have to either through his agent or, get permission, whatever, but you'd have to Kevin Cheveldayoff would have to need time to sell his program to Brock or anyone else who might be on the list here.
Easy sell for me. Yeah, drive your family up. We're, tops in the NHL right now. You got a real shot, but you don't have to be the guy, but you get to be a part of it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go do it.
It's an awesome lineup they have.
They are pretty loaded. Curious to see how aggressive they get.
I just saw on Sportsnet.ca a story about Bettman addressing the tariff stuff and how it's going to affect the affect the NHL.
And he didn't shy away from it.
No,
What do you say?
He said it's going to be a factor.
It's a factor. It's like finally the cap goes up, and finally it's like, oh my god. And, anyways, finally the cap goes up, and it's just like immediately political strife, tariffs. Like, can we just have the cap go up with no issues?
Okay,
one time?
within like a few years, like a pandemic and tariffs.
I know.
Come on.
Trade war. Like, can we just
Come on.
come on?
What is going on here? Like
Cap finally went up.
aliens in 2 years?
Buddy,
The league
we
is
are
shut down due to
100% getting
aliens.
There's going to be an alien issue.
I mean,
that is coming.
What's the aliens? He's got a good stride.
Yeah, we'd pick
I mean,
him up.
right?
Leafs. I mean, no move
All
clause.
UFAs?
Pluto.
Yeah.
Not technically too many minutes on the ice if you're floating above the ice, right?
Leafs will do anything.
Oh my
They'll do
God.
anything. All right. Ovechkin, Capitals, we mentioned that.
11 away.
Ottawa and Chicago tonight.
Exciting.
Win, Ottawa, win. Let's go.
Do you think that we will talk about a Leafs trade tomorrow during our Leafs hour?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Leafs
Yes.
are making a trade
Yes.
Luke Kunin?
And Jimmy Rutherford's way too quiet, too.
tonight. Yeah, it's true. You think Brock Besser?
No, I think he stays because they're going to make the playoffs. All right.
All right.
Our thanks to Don Waddell, who is mailing our jersey as we speak.
We're going to fire off a cannon every time the Blue Jackets win.
Enjoy one of 5 games tonight. We're back tomorrow on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Have a great night, everybody.